So we're going to start creating a surface in this section. So you can either come up here and pull down surface, or you'll see me do a lot of right clicks using the prospector and create my surface. Now the 10 means triangular irregular network. That means when it's drawing, and I'll draw you a little picture over here. If I have, let's say I'm looking at, let me just get away from a bunch of points. Let's pretend it's these 3 points. When you're doing a triangular irregular network, basically what it says is I'm going to draw a line from here to here, here to here, and I'm going to figure out elevations from 131.87 to 132.67. Now 132 falls in between here somewhere. Now on this one, there's no 1 foot contour interval, so there won't be 132. But there will be 132 elevation along this line. So I could say, if I was drawing this, and I'm just going to change the color, I could say that there was a contour of 132 that comes through here like this, because 132 has to be between this point and this point. Also, the 132 contour has to be between this point and this point. That's what triangulated irregular networks, because it's making these triangles and it's figuring out elevations between them. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create my surface. So I right click, create the surface, and I'm going to give it a name. Give it a proper name when you first start a surface on ground data that you have. We usually call it existing or proposed. Existing means that's what's existing conditions now. Proposed is what you're going to be building in the future. Go ahead and leave it as contour background. On this one, no. Go ahead and change it to contours 1 and 5 design, because we're not actually designing anything in here, and true topographic surveys will show it as solid lines until it becomes part of the design. So I'm going to go OK. Now nothing's changed over here, so I'm going to hit the plus bar, hit the plus, and hit the plus underneath definitions. We are going to define this surface by the point group Topo. Apply and OK. And now when I zoomed in on this, this is the contour data that's falling through here. So here's where 132, if I look at this, if I hover over this, is telling me that that contour is 132. And notice when I draw my triangle that the computer agreed with me that it crossed this line and this line for the elevation of 132. Now, I have a ridge line up here and it goes down. Now I'm going to take a look at my data, my point groups. Now, if I decide in the, and I'm going to click on properties, I could decide and add additional information into this to adjust the points. Now, let's take a look at, I'm going to go back to properties. I know the crew up here took shots on the power lines or on the light poles at a higher elevation. So I'm just going to show you something. You don't have to do this in yours, but I'm just going to show you something. In the raw description, I'm going to add in the concrete light pole. Now when I do that, somewhere up in here I should get a peak. So I'm in properties, raw description, concrete light pole, apply, and OK. And now when I go into the prospector, underneath my surfaces, notice that I get a yellow button or a yellow dot. I need to rebuild this surface. And when I do that, remember what I told you? Now I've got over by this light poles because the crew held the pole up to get a better angle location of where that light pole actually was instead of using it on the ground because it had a big old concrete base on it. So when you have points like that, you need to get rid of them. Notice on this light pole, the guys just took the shot to the ground. So if you ever do have data that isn't appropriate, you can actually modify that data by doing this. I'm going to click on the existing, and I'm going to edit the surface style. When you go to the surface style, you can actually display the triangles of your contours. Apply and OK. Remember what I said about the triangles. You can see all these little triangles that it makes it to create. So I'm going to change the color just to see this a little bit better. I'm going to change this to a nice magenta. Apply and OK. Now you can see the triangles a bit better. So I've got triangles between all these points. So I also can show edit right or click it, left click, right click, edit surface style. I'm also going to display the points. Now, when I say display the points, that's not to say the same thing as the points that we have up here. So for example, if I go to my point groups and I go to properties and I send that no show all the way to the top, apply and OK. Notice that there's no points. Notice these little X's. Well, you can actually modify your, because maybe I did want to delete that I did want to include the concrete light poles, but I don't want this one because there was an error or something. If you find a point that is not correct, because sometimes the guys will actually put the, will collect data on the fire hydrant, and they'll actually collect that data from top of the nut, which is about 2.5 to 3 feet above ground. So that's should not be included. So what you can do underneath your surfaces, you can actually go to your definitions, point files, right click, go to edits, right click, and delete a point. Now, it's going to say what point do you have on there. If I had multiple surfaces in here, it would make me pick the surface first, but I don't. I want to get rid of that one. And it gets rid of those contours. Okay? Now, it does not delete that point. So don't worry about that. It does not delete that point. Zoom extents. So I'm going to go back to point groups, properties, and I'll send no show back down to the bottom, apply and OK. So that light pole is still there. All right, now I'm going to turn off my contours, my center lines. Okay, so I'm going to go to existing, edit surface style. I'm going to freeze off, make them invisible, the triangles and the borders, apply and OK. Now, the next thing that I'll want to do is put in the contour elevations. So I have up here in annotation, I can come up and I can create a label and I can do a surface label. I am going to add multiple contours at intervals. Now, I'm going to pick a point. I'm going to pick down here and I'm going to cross all the way through to, I'm going to turn my snaps off. I'm going to cross all the way through up to here. It's going to ask me what interval. I'm going to say, I'm going to leave it at 300 as default. All right, I'm going to do 250. Now what that does is it comes in and it labels all of these contours. Now before you get out of that, select the contour that you picked and come over here and say where it says display contour label line, that first one, click that false. What that does is it'll get rid of that blue line. Now let's take a look at the model space. All right, now the contours are a little bit jagged. So I'm going to take a look at my existing surface style properties and I can change that. I'm going to take a look at it, how it looks in, because it's dashed and dashed. Okay, okay. I'm going to go back to Surface Style Properties. I'm going to put it back as design, but I'm going to edit that design. Now, these designs, you need to, if you're going to change stuff, notice how it says by layer by layer. I can't change what type of line it is here unless I do it over here. And I do not want to change the line type over here. I want to write down C Topo major N, C Topo minor N. So when I go to my layer manager, I can come over here and go C Topo major N. See how it's dashed? I'm going to change that to continuous. And C Topo minor N, I'm going to change that to continuous all and be done with it. And I'm going to regen. Well, maybe it didn't. Let me double check it. C Topo existing. So I need to see if that layer is also got the wrong layer type on, or line type. So C Topo existing. C Topo existing. It's continuous. Edit surface style. C Topo my, oh, that's what I did. On existing, I looked at the wrong one. If I look at the surface properties, surface style, or edit surface style, it says C Topo minor and major. I must have clicked on the wrong one. So I need to change minor and major. So come back up here. So you got to be careful on what you're looking at. C Topo minor shouldn't be dash, should be continuous, and should be continuous. Okay. Now that's better. So when I look at this, I can see it. Now if I wanted to put more contour lines in there, I can. I'm not going to do that right now until I get everything more finalized, then I can see if I need to add additional contour line data. So I'm going to come back over here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my sidewalk. So I'm going to go to my point groups and I'm going to send the sidewalk to the top. And then I'm going to send the no-show all the way to the top and bring it down one. Apply and OK. What that does is only gives me my sidewalk data. Now the next thing that you'll need to do is make sure that it's on the proper layer for your sidewalk. If we don't have one, then we'll need to create a layer for it. So I'm going to come in here and see if there's anything at the bottom that gives me this. V stands for survey. V survey sidewalk. Now I'm going to start a polyline. You don't have to do a polyline. You can do a line, but I'll be honest, polylines are a lot better. And I'm going to turn my O snaps, and I'm only going to do the node because I only want to connect to the node, and I'm going to turn it on. So I'm going to just start clicking. Now notice I can only click where the guys put the points. So we don't have all of them. All right. I don't see this green line here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. That's actually part of my surface. So I'm going to go to surface style and I'm going to turn the border off. I thought I clicked that off a minute ago. There we go. Cleans it up over here. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on with my sidewalks. Now we might not be perfect for our first time out, but we did pretty good. All the guys did pretty good. and end there. So there's my sidewalk. Now, the next thing that I might want to do is the edge of pavement, front of curb, that sort of thing. So I'm going to pause here and stop the video and go to the next part.